Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. I am so excited to have you all here. I'm Amy Reimer, and you're here for the webinar called How to Start Difficult Conversations with Your Partner Instead of Avoiding Them. We have a lot of great content for you today. So, this is for you if you struggle with starting difficult conversations. If you worry that your partner isn't going to listen to you, you worry that even if you ask for what you want, you might still not get it. You get nervous or emotional during the conversations, and you would like to be able to handle that better. Or maybe you worry that you're just going to make the situation worse by speaking up. All of those things are completely understandable fears, and I'm going to share with you the ideas and strategies that I use in my life as well as with my clients to start those difficult conversations instead of avoiding them. Because even though you can't control what happens, you can definitely do your best to prepare for a good outcome. And by the end of the webinar, you'll know exactly what to do to make those conversations easier and even what to do when things don't always go the way you planned or hope. I'm going to give you, I think there's 7 steps to start these conversations. And you're really going to start to feel more confident when you share with your partner and um, feel like feel that relief that when you finish, you're like, wow, I'm really glad I tried. I'm really glad I made the effort, because we all know what it feels like when you start a conversation and you feel like, wow, I wish I hadn't even tried. One of the biggest reasons I do this work is because I see so many women avoiding difficult conversations like these because they worry that they're being selfish. They worry that they're going to hurt somebody's feelings. They worry that somebody's going to judge them, or they think that they're taking from others, like time from others, bothering others by asking for what they want. And they really don't have access to the tools to help them get prepared for those conversations, to feel more confident, at ease, more clear about what it is that they really want, because often that's part of the challenge is they don't know what they want. And so the whole point, the whole reason that we are having these conversations isn't because it's always fun. It's really because there's a bigger purpose, because the way I see it is it's not just for us, it's for the people in our lives that we really care about. So if I can't stand up for myself, then that might mean that I'm not able to stand up for my children, for my husband, for my family, my community, my friends, the people, strangers, like even strangers, especially strangers. When we don't have that confidence and clarity to know how to address the things that come up in our life that are difficult, that doesn't just mean that we don't get what we need, but the people around us that we really love and care about also don't get what they need, because there are moments when I do have to stand up for them, or I do have to speak up for a stranger. And those are moments that really, I feel amazing when I can, because those are the moments that matter. So I had a situation recently that I would like to share, which was just that, having a conversation with my boyfriend. It had been going on for a few months and I was kind of ignoring it. And last week I finally had the conversation with him about some money that we had lent to his mom for a family emergency. So we had lent her $5,000 in February, and she was going to pay us back like $200 a month. And, I mean, all those things that come up in your mind, like, should I do it? It's family. They say don't do it. There's probably a reason for it, but it was an emergency, and so you do what you feel is right. And so we lent her the money back in February, and she only paid the first month. And what I remember is that she was waiting for us to open a bank account so that she could just deposit it directly into a bank account. But, as of this week, it had been like 4 months or something, and we hadn't received any money from her. So my boyfriend, I had been trusting him to kind of handle it. And he was talking to her about it at different times, but really, he was really uncomfortable about it, because I guess a couple of times maybe she had said like, oh, is it okay if I give you the money in like a week or two? And he wasn't sure how to, it's his mom. It's anybody's mom. Is like difficult when you've lent them money, and she's not following through or being responsible on her end. So when I went to him to talk about it, I really had an idea in my mind that, like, well, if I need to let the money go, that's okay. We can let it go, and maybe we should just give it to her as a gift. But then some expenses came up, and I thought, those could really, the money she owes us could really help. And so I thought I should talk to my boyfriend about it and kind of see what he thinks and make a decision. Do we gift it to her, or do we ask her for it? He said it was really hard for him to have that conversation ongoing with her, and it wasn't working because she wasn't giving us the money. Um, so we decided that he would call her, and then he would pass the phone to me, and I would talk to her. And the way the conversation went was just really genuine and sincere and loving. And I just told her, like, I'm so glad that we could lend you that money, because it was really important to me that she had that for what she needed to do. And I was really grateful that I was able to help them out, and I just let her know that. And she, in turn, was just so grateful as well that we were able to help. And I asked her, like, how should we do it moving forward? I also kind of let her explain what she needed to about her side of things. And in the end, it all worked out. In the end, she said, well, you guys can come by anytime. I said, when? Like next week? She's like, I don't know, anytime, like tomorrow. I was like, tomorrow? Awesome. So we arranged to go get it tomorrow. We go get it the next day. We went and got it. And at the end of all that, I was just so grateful that I had said something to my boyfriend, brought it up. Wasn't sure. I had no idea how it was going to work out. I used him as a resource, as another brain in the process. I didn't think I had to figure it all out by myself. And we got the money we needed. We arranged how we were going to do it going forward. And we still are managing good relationships, me with him and with his mom. So I share that because, these situations come up all the time. And if you feel like you've been ignoring them in the past, I just want you to know that even for me, it can be really difficult to have those conversations, but we're always better for it on the other side. And the goal is really always to strengthen our relationships in the process and not break them down. So doing it in a way that feels comfortable to you, natural to you, that's kind and generous and loving is the way that I approach things. And I believe you can handle any situation in that way. So um, let's see here. So I would like for you to just think about for a moment, what is the one thing in your life that you feel like you're feeling nervous to talk to your partner about? I'd love to invite you all to post it in the chat box, just so I can see what you're thinking about. And um, look at how this situation, like this nervousness, this fear, this concern about not wanting to have this conversation, how is that impacting the other areas of your life, in your other relationships with your family or with your friends, in your life's work, even in your work, your passion, your commitment to your community, and your connection to yourself. What are you giving up in your life by not having this conversation and by not being willing to face something that is difficult for you? So think about that, and think about, what if you had the tools to approach that situation with more confidence and clarity, and how would you feel coming out of the other end of that conversation? Because this isn't just about difficult conversations and getting things done and just getting to the other end of it. This is really about being the type of woman who can live and speak honestly, a woman who knows what she wants and is willing to speak up for that, the woman who might be uncomfortable but's really willing to prepare herself to get closer to the life she really needs and deserves. And as a result, she's impacting the lives of those around her, her family, her community, the people she works with. And she's not only standing up for her own needs, but now she's able to stand up for others as well. It does take practice. And when you practice, especially in the little things that come up every day, you practice these things I'm going to teach you today and blend it with your natural desire to be kind to others, you're really going to see what is the right balance for you. Because the important thing to remember is that it's, don't compare yourself to others. Like, everybody does this differently. What's kind for one person is not kind for another. And what is generous or open or closed, it's all different. So just experiment, practice, and especially with the small things, because then that's going to help you when you get to the bigger conversations, which is what we're talking about today. It'll help you feel that much more confident for the bigger conversations. And we'll also have time for questions at the end. So write them down as we go along, take notes, or put them in the chat box as we go. And and we'll address them when we get to the end. So if you haven't already, grab some paper and a pen, and let's get started. I'm going to move this along here. Not sure why it's not letting me. Oh, there we go. Okay, so how do you start a difficult conversation? And the answer, I think, is going to surprise you because it always is a little bit different than what we imagine. So it's really not about the exact words that come out of your mouth as much as it is what you do before you start the conversation. So the secret's really in all about how you prepare. So the first step is mindset. So before you even get started, the important thing is to remember that your mindset plays a big part in whether or not you feel confident going into these conversations. So I like to use affirmations to remind myself that it's okay for me to change my mind. If I have to have a conversation that says, you know what, I changed my mind. It's okay. It's totally legit. That happens all the time. You deserve to change your mind. Also, things like everything is working out for my highest and best good. Even thinking all is well, or I am loved. And others that are related to communication, which is I say what's on my mind and in my heart with ease. I love the sound of my voice, even right now when it's a little bit raspy because it's went away a little bit. What I have to say is extremely valuable. And my favorite, there's plenty of time for me to express myself. And when you allow these things to be true for you, it changes everything. Thinking there's plenty of time for me to express myself brings a sense of peace and calm and inspiration to thinking about, wow, what do I really want to say? What do I really want? And so I encourage you to watch back on the replay and write down some of these and have them nearby every day as you're going into different conversations, or especially if you're preparing for a big one. And then the next step is to build trust. Trust is the essence of any relationship. If there isn't a framework of trust, it's really much harder for you to feel confident expressing yourself because you're really not sure if the other person is actually going to care about what you have to say, right? And even more, do they even care about making you happy? And so, especially when we talk about partnerships, it's so important to reconnect to not only what you love about that person and what, made you fall in love with him in the first place, but also just connecting to, how can I build more trust? And this is kind of has two pieces to it. So the first part is, how can you trust him more? And it's really just to notice that you're hesitant already to trust him. There's something that has created a lack of trust. And I'm sorry, I'm not moving these along. And the first thing is to consider, in order to be more trusting, what do you need to know? Or what evidence do you need to see from him in order to feel safe to trust him again? So this could be that maybe there's something he's constantly not doing, and you need to see from him that he will start to follow through, or he is going to do it. And that creates more trust for the future that he's going to continue to follow through on other things that might come up. And then instead of always waiting and hoping that somebody else is going to do something differently in order to build your trust in him, what if you try asking for what you need and see what happens? Because sometimes you wait for them to change their behavior, but they don't really know what you need until you say it. So, for example, you could say to your husband, I know you've been trying to get your schedule changed at work so you can pick up Jenna from daycare. But since you've been late a few times, I'm having trouble trusting that you're really going to be there to pick her up. And, the daycare is charging us, extra money for when we're late. And would you be willing to talk to your boss again this week about how soon you'll be able to change your hours so that you can be more consistent in showing up on time? And then you could say something like, that would make me trust you more. That would make me really trust that you'll be consistent in the future. And you can even add, in the meantime, would you be willing to call me when you can't leave work on time and I can pick up Jenna instead? And that way we're working together to avoid the fees until you're able to adjust your schedule. And so not only are you kind of acknowledging what you need in order to build trust, but you're also sharing solutions to the problem, which is that last piece. Like, and if you can't be there, then just give me a call and I'll help you. I'll support you. So that's asking for what you need. And if that's not reasonable to the other person in that moment, then they're going to be able to tell you, and you can come up with another solution together that they can agree on and follow through with. So disappointments and misunderstandings are a natural part of relationships, right? It's normal not to trust someone if they've let you down in the past. And even in the most trusting relationships, people still let each other down. So the goal can be that when trust is broken, instead of blaming each other or avoiding the problem, you can really try to understand what assumptions you both had and really communicating through the challenge so that you can rebuild the trust. Because through that process, broken trust can actually become a step towards building stronger trust. And, it takes practice. It's a daily thing. It's not a one-time thing. And the next part of trust is really not, the first part was about how you can build more trust in others. And then this might be obvious, this next part, but I think it's really important to mention because we also want to consider, how are others trusting us? And how can I do even more to build trust so that they can trust me even more? So take a look at this list and see if there are one or two things on here that you can practice more of this coming week. I'll read through them and then you can jot down whichever ones speak to you or look back at the replay to copy them down. But following through on what you say you'll do, include others in the decisions that impact them. So having conversations about decisions versus just you going ahead with the decision without talking to anybody about it. The third one, don't gossip or talk behind their back. Don't hold back information that they ask for. So if somebody's really curious or needs information in order to feel more comfortable or safe or ready for what's going to happen, then be willing to stop and share that information with them so that they can trust you more. Trust that you have them, you have their back, and you're thinking of them. You're considering their needs. Don't take more credit than is really deserved. Don't spin the truth. Just tell it like it is. And don't blame others, because when you blame others, naturally you create a certain unwillingness to hear what they have to say and acknowledge them. And it creates a lack of distrust because they feel like you don't really care about what they're saying or what they're feeling. So the third step is to set your intention. So know what you want to get out of the conversation or interaction, because it might be that you're not ready to have the most serious conversation yet, but you can do this with any interaction. It doesn't have to be just these really difficult conversations. So it can be something really solution oriented, like let's decide which car to buy, or something about the interaction itself, which is, I want to just feel like I'm sharing my feelings as honestly as possible. So this is when you can really let yourself choose what you want to create in the conversation. Your intention could even include, what do I want him to get out of the conversation? How do you want him to feel as a result of the interaction? And again, thinking about the conversation this way is about getting clear. It's not manipulating if it comes from a sincere place of caring for the other person's needs and their happiness just as much as your own. So that's why we build the trust in the second step, because now you're in a place where you actually want happiness for him and he wants that for you. So when you've built the trust, now you're in a place where your intention your intention can be more possible because you already have that foundation. So let's do a quick check-in. Remember when I asked you at the beginning of the webinar, what's the one thing in your life right now that you know you're feeling nervous to talk to your partner about? For instance, is your intention, oh, did I get mixed up? Oh, yeah. Okay. So yeah. So around that, what would be your intention for that conversation? What's the one thing in your life right now that you're feeling nervous to talk to your partner about? And write down, what would be your intention for that conversation? So, for instance, is it to ask him to help you brainstorm ideas to pay for a class you want to take? Or is it to make him feel like you're really listening to his side of things? What would be the intention for that conversation? And then commit to the behaviors that reflect those intentions. So this goes back to building trust again. Maybe you start saving money for the classes, or you ask your boss for a raise, or whatever it is that will support your desire to start moving towards the goal of paying for the classes. And your partner's going to see this. And so that creates a certain sense of trust in him. And he's going to start saying, wow, she's serious about this. She wants this. Let me see what I can do to support her. So when you start that conversation with him, he's going to be more open because he's already seen the behavior or the action of what you're doing to move towards that goal. When your actions reflect your intention, you build that trust because you're being consistent, and you're being consistent with what others are seeing, and they can see that everything is making sense. So the fourth step is to set up a time to talk. Because you don't want to blindside somebody, and even your partner. I mean, you're talking all the time, right? But you don't want to surprise them, especially if this is something really, really important to you and it's a difficult thing for you to bring up. So you'll want to bring up the fact with your partner that you want to talk with him. And, I am going to give you some ideas for how you can stay confident while you bring him into the mix to see if he's open to a conversation. So let's say you want to change jobs to something that excites you more, and that means taking a lower salary. So first, before I tell you how to check in, if they don't seem open, you're just going to go back to step 1 and 2 with the mindset and building trust, 1 and 2 of the webinar. But in order to see if they're open, you could say something like, I'd like to talk to you about something I've been thinking about because it would make me really happy. The decision might impact you and our family, so I just hope that we can look for some solutions together that'll work for everybody. And so you haven't said what the topic is yet. You haven't said anything. You're just letting him know you want to talk about something important. And you're really creating an ally instead of an enemy, because you're bringing him into the mix. You're letting him know, hey, your opinion is important to me. I value, your part in this decision. So, but it's important to me. So I think we should set aside some time. So if that's too formal for you, of course you can mix it up. The wording doesn't have to be like that. It can be anything, but it's just a starting point to say you're just going to let him know there's something you want to talk about, and that, in the words you use, it's important. And then after you bring up the fact that you'd like to talk about something, you can set a time and a place to have the conversation. And you want to be as specific as possible. So, choose a time and a place that's going to have the least distractions and have the most privacy. You could say something like, are you free later to talk about it at home? Can we talk about it after breakfast or at breakfast tomorrow before work? Can we talk about it when I get off work later? So the goal is just to give enough time to the conversation and space so that you're both really invested and ready and, present in the moment, and you have each other's full attention. So the 5th step is to actually start the conversation. Again, just to throw in another mindset, I always just expect the best. There's a 50% chance it's going to go well, 50% chance it's not. So why not expect the best? And I really believe that sets that that is powerful. It's energetic. It creates the reality that I want. And so expecting the best is really important to me. So, and then remove distractions. So if the time comes, tomorrow we get home from work and something comes up, or, he's ending a phone call or has to jump on a phone call and he's distracted, or, turns out dinner time got changed or whatever, then renegotiate the time. And this is important because just because you set the time doesn't mean it has to happen in that moment. So if you're distracted, either remove the distractions or adjust the time or the place, so that you can be fully present. And then when you actually do sit down, it's so powerful. It sounds simple, but really just thanking him for being willing to sit down with you. And I know it can come out, feels a little bit cheesy, but it's just really acknowledging the fact that this person is choosing to enter into this conversation with you. And that's a big deal. And so, thank you for, before we start, thanks for sitting down with me. And that's what we're going to say about getting started. So what is the biggest mistake you're making when you get stuck and don't know what to say? So, is there one more in there? Oh yeah, be flexible and stay open. Okay, so the biggest mistake you're making when you get stuck and don't know what to say. I absolutely love this idea, the power of the pause, because pausing and creating space and silence, although it's can be the most uncomfortable thing in the whole world, is actually one of the most powerful things. And this can be if you're actually in an argument, if you actually have a problem happening in the moment, or in this case where you're actually planning for the conversation, it's a little more prepared. When you get stuck, just know that you don't have the answer in that moment. You don't know what to say next. You're not really sure. Maybe you don't know what the solution is going to be. You're feeling uncomfortable, and allow yourself to just sit there in silence, and allow that to be okay for him as well. Because if you create, if you start forcing things, you're going to feel that, and it's going to create a certain energy. You could even say, if you're not sure what to say, you could even just say, I'm not sure what to say right now, or I'm not really sure what the solution is, but thanks for being here to, think about it with me. It could be a moment of acknowledgement in that way, where you just take a moment to say, yeah, I'm not really sure where to go next with the conversation or how to move forward. I'm feeling really grateful that you are willing to brainstorm with me or talk about this with me. So allowing for there to be space and uncertainty in the conversation, because it's there whether you want it to be or not, right? So allowing that to be okay, just pausing. And then the last one, which is I think is the last one, how to keep the conversation from ending in overwhelm and anger for both of you. So this can happen a lot, right? And I've had moments like this where I've completely, I went into it feeling amazing. I thought it was going to be easy. And then I end up feeling totally overwhelmed, frustrated, angry, and so does he. So when the conversation isn't going the way you expected, simply know that you're getting frustrated. And allow that to be okay. You're feeling frustrated. Again, you can also voice it wow, I'm really feeling frustrated. Or you can simply acknowledge it to yourself. And sometimes what I do is ask myself on a scale of 1 to 10, where is my frustration? Is it at a 5? Is it at a 10? And this is going to help us as we go along through this section of the webinar, just to think about, if you're at a 5, you're probably still okay continuing the conversation. If you're at a 10, or you're already yelling, or you're already crying, or you're already, and I'm not saying that because crying's wrong, but if you're already emotional to the point where you can't be clear and you can't be present and you just need to take a break, then that's okay. But know when you're getting frustrated earlier so that you can manage the conversation because of that. So if you're at a 5, it's good to know, if you're already at a 10, then maybe it's time to move on, pause the conversation for the moment and come back to it at another time. And I'm going to mention that in a second. And then this goes back to the thing I just mentioned a minute ago, which is to say what you're really feeling. So, if you're feeling frustrated or you're feeling like some tension, just say it like, oh, I feel like something's just shifted. Did I say something to create some tension? Is that what I'm feeling some tension. Are you feeling that as well? Or you don't even have to say that. You could just say like, I feel like something just shifted. Is that what you're experiencing as well? And so that just allows I think the energy to stay kind of in a clean place where as you go along, you're acknowledging how you're both feeling so that it doesn't get to the place where you're exploding or where you're so frustrated that you're not able to talk to each other, because it also gives him a chance to say like, yeah, I'm feeling tension. Yeah, I'm feeling frustrated. Like this is already like, I just feel like you're attacking me or you're not telling me, you're not being clear. And like, I don't know what you want, So acknowledge when things are shifting and acknowledge even your feelings within that. Know that you don't have to defend yourself. Your feelings are your feelings. And the awesome part of that is like, nobody can tell you your feelings are wrong. Like anybody could say anything about their feelings and they're going to be right. You can literally allow your feelings to be your truth about the situation and repeat those feelings as your reality because there is nothing wrong about them. So you can literally not respond if you're not defending yourself, or simply repeat your feelings. Or if you feel like you're being attacked and it seems like the person's not listening, then you can always say something like, yeah, it's important to me that we have an honest conversation and I'm just sharing with you how I feel. And I found that when you do that, people can't deny your feelings. I mean, they might try, but they can't tell your feelings are wrong. They might try to help you see that like, well, I didn't mean to make you feel that way, but I do feel that way. So you don't have to defend yourself. Your feelings are your feelings and you can repeat it back or just say it once, but either way, you are right in how you feel. And the next piece is to also then speak from your own experience. So if your feelings are your feelings and those are true for you, then also your experience is true for you. So you don't have to know all the facts, or you don't even have to know any facts, but you just speak from your experience. So like, what would be an example? Well, when the florist handed me the flowers, I thought they were the right flowers, so I left the store and now we're here at the party and they're the wrong flowers. Your experience is that you were doing the right thing. Your experience was what happened. So nobody can argue with your experience. And it's still correct regardless of whether that's what somebody else would have done or what they saw or what they experienced. And so, you don't want to put words in somebody else's mouth about what they thought or what they experienced, but you can always speak from your own experience. Oh, I'm at my sister's house. That's that's her dog. Know when it's time to end the conversation. So, first you want to include the other person in the decision about what to do next, right? And you don't want to force a solution. So just remember to be flexible and stay open. And since somebody else is involved in the conversation, you really need to have them share their opinions and needs and ideas. And you're going to be flexible to hear that because you do want a solution that works for both of you in the moment. And you're not trying to force your opinion or decisions on them. So you'll be more likely to find a solution that works for the long term if you include them in the decision about what to do next. So you can always ask the other person, when you've made the decision, you can always say, like, is this something that you can support? Is this decision something that you can support? Like, even if they're not totally on board, but they're basically like, yeah, I can do it. I mean, it's not exactly what I would choose, but I can do it. That's good enough. A lot of times that's good enough. So just see what you can do and not do. And, give yourself permission to say no, or not right now, or, give that to the other person as well. And if they can't support that, what you'd like to be doing, then allow it to be okay that now is the time to end the conversation. We just simply disagree, um, and we're going to have to come back together at another time in order to brainstorm or talk or think through other ideas. Okay, so we've come to an end. Sorry, that was a little bit distracting with the dog. We've come to an end, and I would like to check in again. So, we've talked about these different steps about starting the conversation. We've talked about how to use your mindset as a tool to feel confident and clear. We've talked about how to build trust with your partner, not only so that you can trust him, but so that he can also trust you. And we've talked about setting your intention before you start the conversation so that you really know what you want to get out of the interaction. And then we've talked about how to set a time to talk, how to really start the conversation by expecting the best, removing distractions, and then what to do by using the power of the pause when you feel stuck and you don't know what to say. And then how to keep the conversation from ending in complete overwhelm and anger by knowing when you're getting frustrated, saying what you're really noticing and feeling about the process, not having to defend yourself, speaking from your experience, and including the other person in helping you make the decision about what to do next, whether that's a solution to the problem or if it's ending the conversation for now and coming back. And what I would say about ending the conversation is simply that, it doesn't seem like we're going to agree on this right now, but I would love to revisit this conversation again tomorrow at lunchtime so that we can approach it again, think about it again with a fresh idea, or maybe we'll have some ideas that come to us between now and then. Would that be okay with you? And so set a new time. Don't just leave it. Be sure you're setting a new time to talk so that it doesn't just go unaddressed. So I know it can be hard. I mean, these conversations are the hardest conversations we come across in daily life. But doing these things that I've talked about really have helped me find a balance of confidence and kindness, and doing things in a way that really does feel good to me. Like, anytime you don't react with anger and frustration, you feel good because you know that you're coming from a place of love and kindness, and really seeing that person for who they are as also a kind, loving being. And I think that's really valuable. And so when you communicate that way, the way we've talked about today, not only are you going to feel good, but you're also going to help other people feel good too. And I think that's really the key, is not just that we get what we need, but that we're helping other people get what they need as well. So I'd like to invite you to close your eyes for a minute and feel into what it would be like to arrive at the end of that difficult conversation that you were thinking about at the beginning of the webinar. That conversation that you feel nervous about right now, that you haven't had, you're ignoring, and what would it feel like to finish that conversation and have that relief, knowing that you made the effort, it moved you both forward, it strengthened your relationship, it got you to a new place in resolving the problem. And even though there was uncertainty and discomfort, somehow you understood each other, and you're able to move forward. You can open your eyes And it's not easy to go through that discomfort to find out that a stronger relationship and a stronger you is possible. But it's totally worth it. And it's okay to practice these ideas that we talked about today in the smaller things, like I mentioned earlier, before you start the most difficult conversation. So give yourself permission to experiment a little bit with, building your confidence, because it's not always easy. But stretch yourself, be bold in whatever way that feels right to you. And if it still feels scary, that's totally normal. Like I said, that conversation I had to have last week with my boyfriend. It's like I still get butterflies. I still have uncertainty and hesitate to start these conversations. So if you're not quite ready to start that conversation with your partner and you'd like to take the next step to build your confidence and get more guidance, I would be so excited to offer you a free 45-minute Get Honest session with me. And in this call, we'll talk about the times when you get stuck in the moment. I'll help you get clear on what you can do to handle situations like that with more confidence. And I'm going to give you a specific idea or strategy that you can put into practice right away. So if that sounds like something you need and you would like, you can sign up for this session just by doing amyreimer.com/free, like opening up a new window in your browser. My calendar is there, amyreimer.com/free. And I have limited spaces, but if, there's a couple there. So if you're feeling like you want to do this, just, sign up now so that you can get your spot. And yeah, I would be so excited to have that conversation with you just to support you. So now I would like to give you some time to ask some questions about anything that you've heard today. We have a couple minutes. So all you have to do is type your question in the chat box. You can choose the option to make it public or private. So if you want it just to go to me, you can do that. I'm going to give you a second to do that. So down there in the chat box, you'll see the drop-down menu that says organizer only or to all entire audience. So if you just wanted to go to me, you can click organizer only. And the chat box is there in your menu items, and you'll just type it in and click send. Oh, hi, Lauren. I see Lauren's on. Katie. Okay, so the question is, what do you do if you end the conversation and you do kind of, and it sounds like you do kind of flip out. Okay, so that happens, right? And honestly, it happens to me. It happens to women, clients. It happens to women I know, especially for women who tend to hide or cover up their emotions. Well, the first thing I would say is just to be really conscious of that. And the fact that you're aware of it in the first place is amazing. So, and you're willing to change it. So being aware that that can happen is really important because, it does break down trust. It isn't effective when we blow up with anger. And it tends to happen, especially with women who don't express themselves. And so the thing is to just notice sooner, either in one moment or in general in a relationship. If you notice that something's bothering you and a day goes by, another day goes by, acknowledge that you're getting more and more frustrated about something so that you can address it sooner rather than later. Because the sooner you can address it, the more you're going to be able to do it with calm and kindness and clarity. But as you get more and more frustrated, and you're holding it in, then it's going to just it's more possible that you're going to explode. And what I would say about anger in general too, and this could maybe be another webinar, is just this idea that we all have anger in us. I mean, we all get frustrated. We all, even some of us, I mean, I would say some of us, my own journey has been to acknowledge a certain rage that is inside me, even though I'm a kind, loving person. But we all have, a bit of anger from past experiences or just life happens. And so I would encourage you too to just be open to where is that anger coming from, and is it always just that situation, that one moment, or is it something deeper? Because that's also an opportunity to explore further. If you notice, like in this, the same things are coming up, because that's been my experience, that the more I explored and started acknowledging my own anger, I was able to start to heal it. Okay, so what if my husband doesn't want to start the conversation? So, um, like if he, I guess you're saying, like, if he knows what you're going to talk about, or in general, or maybe you're just in breakdown and you're not talking to each other at all. Um, the number one thing is just to always go back to building trust. And so definitely connect with, like, why am I with this person? Why do I love him? What do I love about him? Like, especially in those moments when you feel so much anger and you don't feel the love. It's so valuable just to reconnect with those little moments, and be open to when he is ready, and do what you can do in order to rebuild the trust. So it might be doing something nice for him. It might be um, doing something out of the ordinary that you don't normally do. All of those things, I think, really do kind of help to repair and bring more love back to the situation. I actually had something recent with my sister where we were in an argument, and it was like over a few days because we don't live in the same place. So we were just, upset with each other and weren't talking. And right now I'm with her, and I brought her a gift that I saw in the airport, and I was like, "Oh, I love that." And it was just like this keychain that says "You are loved." And I really feel like little things like that, little gestures, and it doesn't have to be a gift. It can just be a hug or a kiss, or "Here, I made your coffee." Whatever it is, to show somebody, like, even though we're in breakdown, like, I call it breakdown. Yeah, I still love you and care about you in this relationship. Okay, I'm just gonna check if there's anything else. Okay, so that's everything. All right, great. Well, thank you for those questions. That was awesome. That was perfect. And yeah, I would just like to say, like, what would it be like to be getting into bed tonight and not lie awake thinking about that conversation that you need to have? Not stressing about it, feeling nervous about it, unsure about it, because I know what it feels like when, days and months and weeks can go by where you're saying, when do I do it? How do I do it? Like, what do I say? How do I get started? And so, I mean, in the end, it's all about trusting yourself to know. And but just knowing too that on the other side of that stress and frustration is a stronger relationship and a stronger you. And when you express yourself confidently and clearly in your relationship, you're also going to do that in your other relationships. So, you know, that's what I really want for you. That's what I believe is possible for you. And I just want to remind you too that free sessions for this week are amyreimer.com/free. So you can type that into a URL, amyreimer.com/free. And yeah, I can't wait to hear from you. And thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your day.